eating better than you ever have, but still gaining anyway? Less sugar, more vegetables, smaller portions. You're reading labels and you're skipping dessert. And the advice you keep getting, eat less and move more, that's the advice that got you here. Most providers won't say this out loud, but after 40, for women, eating less actively makes the problem worse. I've worked with thousands of women over 40 in my practice. Women who are disciplined, women who pray over their health decisions, who take stewardship of their bodies seriously. And I kept seeing the same pattern. They were doing exactly what they were told, but still not losing weight. These aren't women who are careless with their bodies. They're Christian women who see health as part of their spiritual journey, which is actually what can make these struggles with weight more frustrating. It's not about willpower or discipline, and failure has nothing to do with how hard you've tried. Section 1. The advice was built for a different body. The advice made sense when it was given to you. Calories in, calories out. Create a deficit, your body burns stored fat, and you lose weight. Simple math. That model worked in your 20s, and it probably even worked in your 30s. It made sense because it's not entirely wrong. A calorie deficit does matter. Nobody's arguing that food quantity is completely irrelevant, but that model was built on a body with stable hormones, stable estrogen, stable progesterone, stable thyroid function, a metabolism that responds predictably to input and output. That's not the body you have anymore. Nobody told you the rules changed. And that's not just some small oversight. Because you've been playing by the old rules while your body switched to a completely different game. Section 2, your body heard eat less as a threat. Here's where conventional advice falls apart. When estrogen starts to decline, and for most women, this is happening in their late 30s, well before menopause ever arrives, your body's entire relationship to fat storage changes. Estrogen plays a direct role in how your body decides where to put fat and how regularly it lets go of it. When estrogen drops, your body tends to shift fat storage towards your midsection, not because you're eating more, not because you're lazier than you were 10 years ago, but because the hormonal signal that was regulating that process is no longer operating the same way. At that same time, when you start cutting calories significantly, your cortisol goes up. Cortisol is your stress hormone. The problem with this is that cortisol signals your body to hold onto fat, especially belly fat. Your body interprets significant calorie restriction the same way it interprets a threat, like a tiger chasing you. It responds by protecting its storage energy, slowing your metabolism, and increasing fat storage around your organs. So you eat less. Your cortisol rises, your metabolism slows, your body holds onto fat harder. And you're doing this on top of declining estrogen that's already shifting fat distribution toward your midsection. You're fighting your own biology with a strategy designed for a different body. And the harder you push, the harder your body pushes back. Section 3, she did everything right. That's what made it so cruel. Here's what this actually looks like. You're waking up and choosing the egg whites instead of the whole egg. You're saying no to the bread at the table. You're getting to the gym when you're exhausted because you believe that consistency is what faithful stewardship looks like. You're tracking, you're being careful, and at the end of the month, the scale is the same or it went up. And that voice starts, the one that says you're not trying hard enough. That if you just had more discipline, more faith, more follow through, there's something particularly painful about struggling with your health when you're approaching it as a stewardship of what God has given you, because it starts to feel like a spiritual failure, not just a physical one. So you double down, you cut more, you add another workout, and your body gets more stressed. More cortisol, more fat retention. I've sat across from women in my office who are crying because they can't figure out what they're doing wrong. Women who are genuinely living on 1,200 calories and still not losing. Women who feel like their bodies have betrayed them, like they've failed at something other women seem to manage fine. They haven't failed at anything. They've been given the wrong map. And nobody stopped to question whether the map was accurate before handing it to them. Section 4. The scale went down and the problem got worse. The missing piece in almost every one of these cases isn't the quantity of food, it's what the body is doing with the food you eat. Two things I see consistently in women over 40 who can't lose despite eating less. First, insulin resistance. You don't have to be diabetic to have insulin resistance. You don't even have to be pre-diabetic for it to be completely derailing your metabolism. Insulin resistance happens when your cells stop responding efficiently to insulin. When that happens, your body stops burning glucose for fuel and starts storing it as fat instead. You can be eating a relatively small amount of food and still be in full fat storage mode because of how your cells are responding to what you eat, not how much. The test that catches this early is a fasting insulin level, not just blood sugar, not just the A1C, a fasting insulin. And most standard panels don't run it. So most women have no idea that this is happening. Second, muscle loss from undereating. When you eat significantly less, your body eventually starts pulling from muscle to meet its energy needs. Muscle is metabolically expensive to maintain. So when calories are scarce, your body considers it optional. Muscle is the primary driver of your resting metabolic rate. It's how you burn calories at rest. When you lose it, your metabolism slows. You need even fewer calories to stay the same weight. You eat even less, you lose more muscle, and the cycle continues. And you feel weaker, more tired, and more confused about why the strategy isn't working. Eating less without protecting muscle can literally shrink the engine that does the burning. You end up with a smaller metabolism than when you started. That's not a plateau, that's damage. And it compounds the longer you stay in the cycle. If this is the first time anyone's connected these dots for you, the hormones, the cortisol, the insulin, the muscle, this is what I put out every week. Subscribe so you catch the next one before you need it. Section 5, one test. That's where this starts. Here's what I want you this week. Not a protocol, not a complete overhaul, one thing. Get a fasting insulin test. Ask your provider for by name a fasting insulin level, not just your blood sugar panel, not just your A1C, a fasting insulin. This is the test that shows you whether your cells are responding properly to insulin, and it can catch insulin resistance years before blood sugar ever looks abnormal. If your fasting insulin comes back above 10, you likely have some degree of insulin resistance, and that changes the weight loss approach entirely. Eating less isn't the solution. The solution is eating differently. Specifically, reducing the foods that spike your insulin and giving your body a reason to become sensitive again. While you're at it, you can also ask about your hormone levels, estradiol, progesterone, testosterone, not just a TSH, not a vague, everything looks normal. The actual numbers that tell you where your hormones are relative to where they should be for how you feel and how to function well. You steward your body because it was given to you for a purpose, and stewardship requires accurate information. Asking better questions isn't giving up on trust. It's how you honor what you've been given. You can't maintain or improve something you're not measuring. If your provider won't run these tests, find one who will. You deserve answers, not reassurance. The women I see who finally turn this around aren't the ones who are trying harder. They're the ones who stopped accepting an explanation that didn't match their experience. They were disciplined, they were faithful, They were doing everything they were told, and they were right to push back when it wasn't working. If this strategy isn't producing results, the strategy might be wrong, not you. If you want to understand what your labs should actually show, the specific numbers that tell you whether insulin resistance, hormone decline, or thyroid dysfunction is behind what you're experiencing. Go watch my video on the 5 things I wish every woman over 40 knew about her hormones. Everything we covered here connects directly to what's in that video. It's on the screen right now.